So Roslynne, Mason County is in the process of creating a Skokomish Flood Hazard Management Task Force. Is this a good idea? And what should the role of this committee and what sorts of recommendations would you like to see come forward from it?
Well, I haven't been deeply involved in that area. I do know that we do have a flood advisory board down in the Skokomish Valley. I don't know what has been happening there. I know that we do have issues with not being able to clear the river, and we still have constant flooding and those kinds of things. So I would say, yes, we probably do need some involvement from the community. I assume that's what the board will be made up of. So I would definitely encourage that. As far as what the current one does, I think the Corps of Engineers came up with their general study and determined that there just isn't enough money to take care of the people who are in the valley. So what we're going to do about that situation, I'm not sure, but it's of great importance to me.
Thank you. Tim?
Well, thank you for everyone to come tonight. It's important.
Go ahead and just bring us a little closer.
Okay, how's that? Okay, thanks for all of you coming today on this. Maybe one of the last debate that we'll have. There's a couple things going on at the county level. The Skokomish Flood District is an established district which is supervised by the county commissioners. We are the 3 members of that board, and I've been the chair of that board. There's been a local controversy about the assessment for that, and we have taken a lot of testimony from people at Lake Cushman and other places because they are the ones that pay into that flood district. Well, no one who lives or no lands on the Skokomish Indian Reservation pay at all. And I think that's an inequity because the district does do good work. We've spent a lot of money repairing dikes along the Skokomish, or the road up to the church, they call it, where the dips are in most places. And I think it's important that we really look at the equity of how that is, and we've appointed a new committee to come forward. We have 4 members so far, and we're just about ready to appoint a couple others. Now, what else is going on in the Skokomish Valley is the Skokomish Watershed Action Team. And I've been a very big supporter of that. It's a multi-jurisdictional group that's worked very hard together to identify some small projects that can get done. I don't think we're ever going to dredge the river. That was a conversation we had a long time ago, and that's just not going to happen. But we can do small projects which bring a lot of great rewards and benefits. And some of those are down at the mouth of the river, where the tribe has worked very hard to open up the estuary and take care of the old Nally dikes and get the water flowing around.
Well, I would want to look more closely at what the tribe is doing. When I hear you say they do not pay at all, my guess is that quite a bit of money is spent repairing and restoring and a lot of other things, not necessarily giving money, but still cooperative. And I think that's what the area needs. And like I say, I would look at that. But I think that it's a necessary thing, and working together is always my #1 priority.
Thank you. Tim?
Well, taxes are always a big issue for everyone in Mason County. And right now, if you live at Lake Cushman, you are paying into the Skokomish flood zone. And your flood water, the water coming off your property, is basically controlled by those 2 dams up there, by the upper lake and the lower lake. And those citizens, I think, rightly feel that they are taking care of the water that comes off their property. And I think we need to re-examine it, the equity of how it's been set up. It was set up basically in the 70s. And those are the things that I think as a county commissioner you need to educate yourself on, talk to the people that are involved, learn the history of the flood district, and also work very hard with the community in trying to find some people that will serve on these committees and give you good advice and come to a good conclusion. And I've done that.
Thank you. Tim, as you likely know, the port just voted to relocate the fairgrounds. Do you agree with this decision? And if you don't, what would be your solution?
Well, someone mentioned that we had a meeting today with the port commission, and I think that's essential. I have to say, J-Hub has done a terrific job of researching the history of the fairgrounds in here in Mason County. My feeling is that we should let the fairgrounds remain where it is, work with the community, perhaps on a funding source for a new fairgrounds. We have a piece of property identified. The county has done a long study, exhaustive study in about 2006 and 7 for the property that they own right there at Airport Dayton Road and Highway 101 where the Public Works building is. But I've also contacted Senator Murray's office. I think Senator Murray and her office need to be involved in this discussion because they are the appropriators. They are the ones that provide the money for the FAA. And I think some of the decisions that have been made are being made by a low-level bureaucrat in Renton who I've known over the years. I've worked with the FAA and the Port on economic development issues since 1986 and have made decisions not based on the community's wishes. And they've made inconsistent decisions. The Centralia Airport, much different than the airport here at Sheldon. So I think we can find some solutions if we get the federal government involved. I think a good example is we heard from the NROTC that they were going to close their program here at Sheldon. And what we did as a commission, I did as a legislator, is contact all our congressional people. They finally wrote a letter, took them about a month. They researched the issue and found out that the dates were wrong. They should not have given that edict to the local school here to close that program. I think that's what we'd find in that FAA issue if we get the federal government involved.
Thank you. Roslynne, your response?
Well, I appreciate that there was a meeting today. I was surprised that that was happening. I think it was a good idea. It's a good start. It's a little late. This has been going on for a long time. The FAA said we thought 13 years was long enough, and for this representative of ours to say that we are going to bring in the federal government and get after these people, these low-level bureaucrats, is outrageous in my opinion. When the meeting was concluding, the solution was to have another meeting and include the feds, and the feds were elected officials. That doesn't make sense to me. Why is the FAA not at the table? And part of that, in my assessment, is that whoever is working with the FAA is not working effectively. And in negotiations or other contracts or whatever else you're working with, if the person who is your lead spokesperson is not working out, you change them out. So I think we need to be looking at this a little bit differently and stop trying to get the elected officials to beat up on the local worker bees. I think that there's a solution there, and we have to actually be there and work on it. I mean, 13 years and we're just now getting together.
Well, Roslynne, I know that you've been an FAA employee, and you may know the inner workings of the FAA. But as an elected official and someone who has served with Patty Murray in the state legislature, has served with Maria Cantwell in the state legislature, has known Congressman Dix for a long time, I know that these appropriators are the people that the lower level people in the FAA have to listen to. And they want to bring the community together. That's what they told me at their staff level when I talked to Senator Murray's office. Please get us involved to help bring your community together if you want to help. I would not turn down that offer.
It sounds a lot like 47%. I don't call those low-level workers. I think the problem is when you're trying to operate a government like a legislature, you get what we have, and that's why we have a mess. We need to have the actual governments talking with governments, not elected officials talking with elected officials. This is a local problem, and it needs to be done reasonably and intelligently.
Thank you. Roslynne, I'll have you answer this question first. Lawsuits against the county are especially concerning during tough budget times. Some have called these recent lawsuits frivolous and just a part of doing business, while others have said that they could be avoided. What is your opinion, and do you have specific ideas when it comes to dealing with these issues?
They can be and will be. What the public needs to do is start electing people who are actually qualified for these jobs. If we have people who have actual experience, when something like this comes up against you, like a union contract, you have something to bounce it against. Right now, we have legislators, and they don't know what to do with it. So I bring that to the table. I've got several years of experience with labor relations, human resources, and a variety of other administrative types of things. At the county level, these are administrative jobs, and we aren't electing people who have those skills.
Tim?
Well, it's a difficult issue. Roslynne, I know that you're supported by the union. Unions have supported your campaign. They've not supported my campaign at all. I think it is because there are 11 different unions at the county. It's very difficult with 11 different bargaining unions to come to some agreement. But to get to your question, Heidi, we as county commissioners administer $67 million of a budget, and that's with our current expense budget and our public works budget. There are people that sue you. If you ran a $67 million business, you bet you'd be sued. And I can tell you that our state audit was just finished for 2011. There was no exceptions. There were no findings. There were no observations by them that anything was wrong with the way we handled the money. And I can tell you that we also belong to the Washington County's risk pool. We self-insure with 17 other counties. Our recent premium was $226,000. And that rate was a raise of $2,000 from last year. If we had done lots of things wrong, if we had a lot of lawsuits, lost lawsuits, and did egregious things, you bet that our premium would have gone up a lot more than 1%.
Awesome.
It would be nice to go back further than 1 year, because I think we've done things wrong for a lot of years. And I think some of those include not giving out information when people have requested it. So anyway, whether that dollar figure means anything or not, I don't know. But the problem is that people don't just get sued. They get sued if they do things wrong. And I've already mentioned before that some of your language that has to do with the unions and how many there are, in my opinion, where I came from, that's borderline unfair labor practice. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that we don't know how much longer this will go on. If we keep putting a person like that in this position, we are going to keep paying more.
Tim, your final word?
Well, I guess I have, on this question,
Yes, sorry.
well, I really have a difficulty thinking that if I told the public that there are 11 or 12 different bargaining units that we deal with as county commissioners, that's somehow an unfair labor practice or somehow borderline illegal as you're charging. You have to be specific. It is a difficult job to manage the dollars that we have. And people always want something more. That's the world that we live in. I've negotiated with unions at the state level for a long time as well. It's a difficult world. You come to some agreement. And I think the package that we have for our employees is outstanding.
Thank you. With that, you will now have 2 minutes for your closing statements. Like the candidates for District 1, as you begin, would you please share with us one new idea that you have that you would like to bring to the job? And we'll start with you, Tim.
Well, I think a new idea, we didn't talk about law enforcement today, and that's a very prominent subject on everybody's mind. Our rate of residential burglary is extremely high. We have limited funds for our sheriff's office. We've done a lot to provide a new office. We've increased the funding for the sheriff's office 24% in the last 8 years. But a new idea I would see that the county commissioners could help the legislature lobby for and myself lobby for is use a portion of the lodging tax for law enforcement. We double the population of our community during the summer, at the 4th of July, Oyster Fest, and those times. We need special overtime. We could use some of that. But in closing, I want to say this. You know, this is the only race where there's 2 Democrats, and with our top 2 primary system. It is very interesting to me that we are very different Democrats. I'm a conservative individual. I believe that I am a public servant. I believe that my opponent is a party servant. She has been the former chair of the Democratic Party, and I don't believe that the Democrats or the Republicans have a monopoly on all the good ideas. We have to work together. If I'm ostracized by the party because I am different. I like Rob McKenna. I serve in the legislature. I think he's a great governor. I served with Jay Inslee. I don't think he would do as well. So I'm a ticket splitter, and I think that you have to, an intelligent person picks, chooses, listens, and learns from their experience. And obviously, I've not been the party favorite, but I think the conservatives, the Republicans, and the conservative middle will decide this election. Thank you.
Thank you. Roslynne, 2 minutes for your closing statement, and if you would also begin with sharing one new idea that you would like to bring to the
A
floor.
new idea first, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, it's not really a new idea, it's just an idea that needs to be implemented. I sat through the budget workshops, hearings, whatever they're called, today, and I was not pleased. I think we should have something that's more of a program review that includes the budget discussions and also includes the committees and boards that are affected by those budgets or are somehow impacted by them. So that's something that I would like to see differently. As far as this position, I think we do need to hire someone who is qualified. The idea that our current commissioners spend something in the neighborhood of 4 hours a week and get with benefits about $106,000 a year is outrageous, and I think it needs to stop. We do need to have commissioners who are actually there doing the job. Just recently, we've had more of that. There's a flurry of activity, not necessarily action, but that's usually what happens when people are about to be fired. They start getting pretty busy. But anyway, back to the 24%, I've heard that said over and over again about the sheriff's budget, and in my checking, when you want me to be specific, you voted against those increases 3 out of 4 times. So I'm not sure why you're even using that figure. And as far as we're both Democrats, we can probably dispense with saying we're exactly the same, only different, because we're not. I would not consider you to be a Republican, and that's probably why the party does not accept you. So I think we're done with that story. Please vote for me. I'm Roslynne Reed. I'm the one that's qualified. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll ask the county commissioner candidates for District 3, Ross Gallagher and Terry Jeffries, to join me up at the podium. Thank you, Roslynne and Tim, for joining us tonight.